Over 1,000 people have been left stranded in Dakota informal settlement in the south of Durban. This after a devastating fire broke out last night. The cause of it not yet known, and it swept through some 350 makeshift structures. Our reporter Nobuhle Modise has been following the story throughout the day. Nobuhle, we've been trying to establish how the fire was finally put out, and I understand there may have been some management issues there in terms of the resources available to quash it.
Indeed, Aaron. So what I've heard or what I've been told by some of the residents here is that indeed firefighters did get here, but there was an issue of entering this area. As you can see, like I was explaining to you earlier, it's on a flat plane and there's no entrances, to get into here. So that was the first challenge. The second challenge was that they then started putting the fire out, but they ran out of water. And the other thing is that the fire was spreading rapidly. Some of the residents here, when I spoke to them, trying to find out exactly what took place, because like I said, it was unclear. Some are saying that the fire was started by someone who was cooking and they left the stove on and the oil started, I think the oil mixed with the electricity, and that's how the fire spread. You will know as well that there's a lot of illegal connections here, which is part of the reason why the fire then spread so rapidly. There was also a wind yesterday, so firefighters had a bit of a struggle outside of just the water running out, but they did have a struggle because the fire was spreading so rapidly. I was speaking to someone earlier who was from right up there, and they said when the fire took place, they actually came down to come and assist those at the bottom, but they're not realizing how quickly the fire was spreading, and they didn't expect that their shack would also, go up in flames. So those are some of the challenges that the firefighters had to deal with here yesterday because the fire was spreading so rapidly. But I want to bring into the conversation someone from the Red Cross disaster team and just speak to them about their response and what they've assessed so far. Aaron, thank you so much, Siyabonga Hlatshwayo. Just speak to us about what you've assessed so far and what your role is here today.
Thank you very much. Since last night there were reports that there was a fire incident here, we immediately allocated a team that was going to conduct assessments once it was safe to do so. Assessments have been conducted and approximately 350 households have been damaged. We have allocated 2 tents where the displaced people are going to be staying. We are also in the process of allocating mattresses, hygiene packs, as well as 3 meals per day. For as long as the people are still displaced, and also we are continuing with more assessments in order to identify more needs that are needed by the people that are here currently.
Siyabonga, I spoke to residents earlier here, and obviously they're saying that this is not the first time something like this happens. As the Red Cross, you've been here to respond to some of the incidents that they referred to. Would you say that this is a much bigger fire than what we've seen in the past here before?
Yes, it is quite bigger, but we have seen some bigger fire incidents than these ones. And also it's quite concerning because it's an issue that needs quite a broader engagement with the communities, because also there are quite a number of issues that are at play as they are residing here. It is quite a risky area, a disaster risk area. As now we are entering into the fire season, we are expecting such incidents, and we are trying to equip ourselves better to ensure that we can be able to respond.
Thank you very much. That is Siyabonga Hlatshwayo, who's from the Red Cross disaster team, just telling us what their assessments are. Him also saying that about 350 structures have been destroyed and what kind of aid that they are giving here. He did also say to me earlier that they are working with the city's disaster management team to ensure that those that are displaced will be assisted on time and timeously. But as he said, a lot of engagement needs to take place around this particular area, as I said to you earlier as well, because this is not the first incident to take place. They've just recovered from 2 rounds of flooding. There's fires that happen here almost regularly, and so a conversation has to be had indeed about what is going to be done here in this area. When I spoke to a resident earlier and asked him if he'll be rebuilding his shack here, he said he definitely will be rebuilding his shack because there's nowhere for him to go. Isipingo is an industrial area and many of them are employed here. The street where in front of us is actually part of there's buildings right behind my colleague Gift Dinkosi, and those are some of the places where the residents here are employed, and they're saying that they can't afford to move outside of this area because they would then have to commute further, and that also puts a more strain on them financially, with them having to pay for transport fees. So a lot of them saying that they are still going to rebuild here as they have done in the past. They are not willing to move, but essentially the eThekwini municipality is the one that has to come and engage the community here about what actually needs to be done to ensure that no more informal structures are built on this particular floodplain.
Not willing or perhaps not able to move because of circumstances, despite the risks of being in that low-lying area, as you've reflected. Also important to note, we've seen through your work with GIFT that people have lost IDs. That can relate to getting your SASSA grants, for example, and the devastation behind you. We now know 2 tents provided by the Red Cross. Are any other charity organizations present or set to appear? Just quickly.
No, we don't have to zoom in now.
He's saying they're still setting those up, Aaron. He hasn't given us much detail on those tents, but I also spoke to someone from Gift of the Givers who was mentioning that they are just loading some things onto a truck that they're going to be bringing here. So we'll have a better picture of what indeed the kind of aid that the people here are receiving outside of that community hall and those 2 tents that Siyabonga Hlatshwayo has told us about.
Nobuhle Modise, thank you very much. We will check in with you on that aid to that community later on today.